Today, we are going to talk about a hidden gem of the 16-bit era, Ristar, developed by Sonic Team and released by Sega for the Genesis. In 1995, Ristar often gets overshadowed by its sibling series, Sonic the Hedgehog. However, it offers a uniquely charming platforming experience that still holds up as a standout title of its time. Despite its initial lack of attention, Ristar has since gained a loyal cult following, with many fans praising its creativity and unique mechanics. It's a game that dares to be different, emphasizing slower, more thoughtful platforming rather than the blistering speed synonymous with Sega's better-known mascot. And in this difference lies its charm, marking it as a title that deserves more recognition among platforming classics. The story of Ristar is a simple yet heartwarming tale that captures the whimsical spirit of the 16-bit era. Set in the far reaches of the Valdi system, a cluster of fantastical planets, the peace of this vibrant galaxy is shattered when an evil space tyrant named Greedy takes control. Ristar's role as the galaxy's savior is a subtle yet effective deviation from the typical Chosen One narrative. It's not just about being a hero, but about stepping up to fulfill a legacy, which adds a layer of emotional depth. Throughout the adventure, Ristar must traverse 6 uniquely designed planets, each under Greedy's influence, to free the enslaved leaders and restore balance. The villain, Greedy, isn't explored in depth, but his presence is felt everywhere. His influence shapes the bosses, from hypnotized creatures to mechanical monstrosities, serving as extensions of his will. By the time players reach his stronghold on planet Freon, there's a palpable sense of satisfaction in finally confronting the mastermind behind the galaxy's despair. The final showdown ties the story together nicely, giving players a sense of accomplishment not only for defeating Greedy, but for helping the Valdi system return to its former glory. What makes Ristar's story stand out is how it balances simplicity with charm. It doesn't aim to be overly complex, but uses its themes of heroism, legacy, and perseverance to resonate with players. The starry-eyed protagonist's determination is infectious, making you root for him not just because the game demands it, but because his journey feels worth it. The gameplay of Ristar is where the game truly shines, offering a refreshing take on the platforming genre with its unique mechanics and deliberate pacing. At its core, Ristar eschews the blistering speed of Sega's Sonic the Hedgehog series in favor of a more methodical and exploration-focused approach. The game's standout feature is Ristar's extendable arms, which serve as the primary tool for combat, traversal, and interaction with the environment. Ristar's stretchy limbs are used for grabbing enemies, objects, and ledges. Instead of jumping on enemies to defeat them, Ristar grabs foes with his hands and headbutts them into submission. This mechanic is satisfying and lends itself to more strategic gameplay. You're not just charging ahead, you're actively looking for ways to use Ristar's abilities to navigate cleverly designed levels. Each of the 6 planets has its unique theme and set of mechanics that keep the experience fresh. For example, the tropical planet Flora introduces swinging vines and aquatic sections, while the icy planet Freon challenges players with slippery surfaces and enemies that freeze Ristar in place. Boss battles are another highlight of Ristar's gameplay. These encounters take full advantage of the game's mechanics, requiring players to use the grabbing and headbutting system creatively. Each boss is designed to reflect the theme of its planet, such as a menacing robotic bird on planet Automaton or an icy walrus on planet Freon. These fights often demand a mix of pattern recognition and quick reflexes, offering a satisfying challenge that never feels unfair. The controls, while generally solid, can sometimes feel a bit sluggish, especially when making precise movements or trying to grab moving objects. This can lead to moments of frustration, particularly in the later levels where precision is key. Ultimately, the gameplay of Ristar succeeds by being both accessible and inventive. It's not just about getting from point A to point B, but about engaging with the world and its mechanics in meaningful ways. It's a slower, more deliberate experience compared to the high-speed antics of other Sega platformers. But this difference is exactly what makes Ristar stand out. The graphics and sound in Ristar are nothing short of spectacular, representing some of the best the Sega Genesis had to offer. Released late in the Genesis lifecycle, Ristar pushes the hardware to its limits, showcasing vibrant, colorful visuals that still hold up today. Each planet in the game has a distinct theme, brought to life with gorgeous pixel art and meticulous attention to detail. From the lush greenery of planet Flora to the icy blues and whites of planet Freon, every stage feels like a living, breathing world full of character and charm. The animations in Ristar deserve special mention. Ristar himself is bursting with personality, and his movements are smooth and expressive. Whether he's swinging from a ledge, climbing a pole, or headbutting an enemy, his actions are fluid and full of life. The game also uses visual storytelling to great effect. Like when Ristar grabs a vine to pull himself up, his face scrunches with effort, adding a sense of physicality to his action. Enemies and bosses are equally well animated, with quirky designs that match the game's playful tone. The backgrounds are another highlight, layered with parallax scrolling to create a sense of depth that's impressive for the Genesis. Each planet feels unique, with backgrounds that evolve as you progress through the stages. On the audio side, Ristar delivers a soundtrack that's as memorable as its visuals. Composed by Tomoko Sasaki, the music captures the whimsical and adventurous tone of the game perfectly. Each planet has its own musical theme, blending upbeat, catchy melodies with atmospheric undertones that match the setting. The audio quality, however, isn't without its limitations. While the Genesis's FM synthesis chip is used effectively, some tracks can sound slightly tinny or harsh, especially when compared to the richer soundscapes of SNES games from the same era. That said, the music's composition and variety make up for any technical shortcomings, and the sound effects are clean and impactful. What truly stands out about Ristar's graphics and sound is how they work together to create an engaging and cohesive experience. The visuals and audio complement each other perfectly, immersing players in a galaxy that feels alive and full of wonder. Whether you're sliding across an icy slope or bopping along to the funky beats of a mechanical level, the presentation pulls you deeper into the game's whimsical universe. The legacy of Ristar is one of quiet admiration, a hidden gem that has slowly gained recognition over the years as one of the Sega Genesis's most polished and imaginative titles. Upon its release in 1995, Ristar was met with generally positive reviews, with critics praising its vibrant graphics, inventive gameplay, and memorable soundtrack. However, it was also a victim of poor timing. By the mid-90s, the gaming industry was shifting its focus toward 3D graphics and next-generation systems like the Sega Saturn and Sony PlayStation. As a result, Ristar didn't receive the widespread attention it deserved, and it largely flew under the radar of the mainstream audience. In the years since, Ristar has found a second life among retro gaming enthusiasts and Sega fans. Its unique mechanics and high-quality presentation have earned it a cult following, with many players citing it as one of the most underrated platformers of its era. The game has been featured in various Sega compilations, including Sonic Mega Collection Plus and Sega Genesis Classics, which have helped introduce it to new generations of gamers. Despite its status as a hidden gem, Ristar has struggled to establish a larger presence in Sega's brand identity. Unlike Sonic, who remains Sega's mascot, or other franchises like Streets of Rage and Shinobi, Ristar hasn't seen a sequel or significant spin-offs. Fans have long speculated about what a modern Ristar game could look like, imagining how its unique grab and headbutt mechanics might translate to 3D, or how its colorful universe could expand in an era of high-definition gaming. Yet, Sega has largely kept Ristar in its vault, occasionally acknowledging it through cameos or Easter eggs in other games. Ultimately, the legacy of Ristar is one of quiet brilliance, a game that didn't achieve mainstream fame but has earned a devoted following and a lasting place in the hearts of retro gaming fans. Its imaginative design and polished execution make it a timeless classic that continues to inspire players and developers alike.